Namaste. My name is Holly Walkastora, and I'm a certified Iyengar yoga teacher practicing and teaching in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And today we're practicing yoga for two tight butts. Okay. So the muscles in your gluteal region and your hip region and your inner thighs that allow your legs to turn out this way, if they're chronically tight, they're not going to be able to do their job. So that they are responsible for doing this, they contract, right? To take your legs out to the side, to come into a pose, for example, like Baddha Konasana or Siddhasana. Padmasana. When they're chronically tight, they're in almost like a spastic state. So when you ask them to contract more so that this happens, they can't because they're like rocks, right? So today we're going to practice a sequence that will broaden, extend, lengthen those muscles, and hopefully improve their ability to, in a healthy manner, contract to externally rotate your femurs and your hip sockets. Okay, so watch over here. Now, I have a belt, and this belt has a loop in it, okay? And I'm going to be using the belt in such a way that it encourages the internal rotation of my femur at the hip, okay? This block, these blankets, are there for me to build up the floor underneath my inner knee, okay? So let's identify a few parts of our vahana, our vehicle that we've been given to drive around this precious life in our human body, okay? And that is before we begin, so we're identifying these following parts, right? Here is my buttock bone, and I have an outer edge of that buttock bone, and I have an inner edge of the buttock bone, closer to my pelvic floor, okay? So I'm going to ask you at times to turn from the inner buttock bone to the outer buttock bone, to the outer hip, and reach across the outer hip to the inner knee. And then you'll see that my knee doesn't come down to the floor, so I put a support underneath my inner knee. And I don't just press from the knee into the brick. I turn the inner buttock bone to the outer buttock bone and reach across from the outer hip to the inner knee. And do you see how the inner edge of my foot is on the floor, and my knee is in line with my hip, my ankle is in line with my knee. So my femur is perpendicular to you, and my shin is parallel. Okay. And then to come out, see how I lift the balls of the toes up, and I pivot from the inner heel to the outer heel, and turn the leg back out. Internal rotation, external rotation. Okay, let's get started. So, I'm taking this right heel in line with my right knee, and my right knee in line with my right hip, okay? And here's the block, placing it underneath my inner knee. Now, my external rotators are chronically, they're tighter on the right side, and that's from driving. I find that to be true with many of my students, that they have a right leg that turns out when they're lying down in Shavasana, or if they're standing in mountain pose, or doing dog pose, or legs wide apart, forward bending, Prasarita Padottanasana. Even here in Upavishta Konasana, the right leg tends to turn out more. And that's from turning the leg like this to reach from the gas to the brake. Okay? So here, this is the first position. Okay? And I'm going to encourage this movement of the inner buttock bone turning to the outer buttock bone and the outer hip reaching to inner knee by taking my belt and putting it with the buckle not directly in either hand, but like part of the way in between. Okay, now watch. I'm going to take the part of the belt that is closest to my inner thigh through the part that's closest to my outer thigh, near my hip. Okay? And then I bring this notched part where the two ends have met over to my outer hip. And I pull across from the outer hip to the inner thigh. And then I take the belt underneath my thigh and I can pull out, holding it with my thumb. And my knee just drops right to the brick when I do that. Now, sometimes students say they feel a pulling or a pain in their inner upper thigh. Try taking your knee further out to the side. It's still in line with your hip. It's not outside your hip, but it's not as in line with your hip. And right away that relieves that pain. You can also try feeling, right? It's more than a pain, it's like just a stuck feeling, right? Or you can try putting a higher support underneath your knee. Okay, now from here, I'm going to slowly let go with my thumb, but encourage that action by pressing the outer knee towards the inner knee and the inner knee into the brick. As I come down onto my elbows and reach down from my shoulders to my triceps to my elbows to lift my back ribs up and bring my elbows forward as I lie down. Okay, now once I'm here, I have to bend this opposite knee, pick the buttocks up, and use my hands to manually move the flesh of the upper buttocks towards the lower buttocks. And then I extend that left leg, and I'm keeping the middle of my sacrum down on the ground. And here's my belt, and here's my thumb, and I can pull to encourage that knee. It drops right down to the brick when I do that. And I feel the right side of my tailbone getting the muscles to the right side of the tailbone and the sacrum getting spread out to the right. Keeping that right knee down. And while I'm here, I can adjust my shoulder blades so that they move onto the back of my chest and support the opening of my chest. To come out, I pivot on the heel. And then bring this leg over. Come up. And repeat to the other side. Okay, now this sequence, I've had a video on YouTube before showing you how to do this, but it has two more stages that I didn't demonstrate in that video, but I'm going to show them now, okay? So you saw when I went backwards that I extended my left knee and had my left leg in Shavasana, okay? Or Supta Tadasana. But now, I want you to see how. Okay, so again, I'll show you on the right leg again. It is my tighter side. When I practice, if I have a side that's weaker or tighter, I always spend a little more time working with that part of my body, with that side. Like, I'm right-handed, so when I do bottom arm Gomukhasana, which is this, I take my hand to my hip and I just do some shoulder rolls to prepare that arm before I bring it into Gomukhasana. And it's the same thing here. So I'm just going to take the time to work a little more deeply with this right set of right external rotators because they're tighter. So watch, now I'm going to place this leg into what we call Marichiyasana. So I bring the heel, you can see I brought my heel back towards my buttock bone and brought my calf and my hamstring muscles together. And then I'm going to lie back. I'm going to scoot slightly forward because I've come away from the brick. and keep this leg in Marichiasana. And again, I'm not rolling to the left side of my sacrum. I'm staying on that median line insofar as possible. I mean, the right side of the sacrum is coming up off of the floor just a little bit more than the left, but I can press this left arm down into the floor to help me shift from the left side of my sacrum over to the right. And that encourages those muscles on, they're called the deep six, around the right buttock bone to broaden, to extend. And then here, reaching from the inner buttock bone to the outer buttock bone, and from the outer buttock bone to the inner knee, so that the knee comes down as a result of that movement, of that journey, of the right buttock bone moving to the inner buttock bone, moving to the outer and the outer hip, reaching across the inner thigh, the front of the thigh to the inner knee. And then I pivot on that heel, turn to the side, and come up. The final stage sees this Marichiasana leg come to Virasana. Now I'm going to show you what a Virasana leg looks like with my right leg, so you can see. So this is Marichiasana, and then now the heel is in line with the buttock bone in Marichiasana. I'm going to take the heel outside the buttock bone and take the shin, the ankle, the heel, the metatarsals, and the toes. Okay, so that's what position this leg is in over here on the left side. Now, in order to be able to do this final stage, one needs to be able to sit on the floor in Virasana. Okay? So, if you need support under your buttock bones to sit in Virasana, this stage is not for you, and you can repeat Marichiasana. So this is the most challenging stage of this sequence of yoga practices for two tight butts. And I don't mean T-W-O, I mean T-O-O. Okay, and then you see the sole of my right foot, especially that inner edge of the foot, is facing you. And I'm lying back. So not only do I need to be able to bring my knee into this amount of flexion to do this final stage, the Adi Matra, the most intense, right, stage of this asana, but I also need to have the extension, the ability to extend this front leg, you can see, hip enough to get the sacrum down on the floor. And again, I pull on that belt to release those tight gripped external rotators. And you know, I have a right knee that I call my tricky knee. It plays tricks on me. I never really know when it's going to act up, but every time my right knee acts up, if I practice this sequence, my right knee is less inclined to play tricks on me. Meaning that my right knee is healthier when my right external rotators are healthier, because they're not too tight. They're also not too weak. They're just right. So here, I also lift up and adjust those buttocks. Upper buttocks moving to the lower buttocks. And then pivoting on that heel this knee after it's been in Virasana and Supta Virasana. Before I come up. So that is the entire sequence of Yoga for tight external rotators for 2 TOO tight butts. Namaste.